Hi guys, it's Horsey Steph, and today I am back with Horse Trainer Reacts to Heartland, your guys' #1 Horse Trainer Reacts series. We are working our way through season 1, episode 4, and it is just so drama-packed. We left off the last segment with Amy falling off and hitting her head on a rock after trying to pony Red across a creek after already knowing he doesn't like water. Super reckless situation, and she came off and hit her head, and we really don't know anything after that. So if you guys could go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe for future videos, that would help me out a ton. And let's go ahead and jump back into this episode and see how Amy is doing. I hope she's okay, but honestly it looked really bad and definitely a scary accident, so really no way of knowing what happened to her exactly. Alright, so Mallory did go to the barn to get help for Amy, so that is great. She did almost run over Jack and kill him in the process, so that maybe not so great, but at least she went for help. It's a good first start.
You know you're not allowed to ride your horse in the barn.
It's a good rule to not ride your horse in the barn. Definitely doesn't set you up for success riding in the barn. It's just a dangerous place to ride. There are people, there's movement in there. Bad idea. So I get why they have that rule. Obviously, this is an emergency, so she was trying to get there as quickly as possible. I can see why she didn't bother getting off outside the barn, just raced right in. Although probably could have stopped a little bit quicker so that she didn't almost run Jack over.
What now, Mallory?
Alright, nobody really cares that Mallory's horse spooked and took off. She's fine. She stayed on and she's getting help for Amy, so nobody cares about that. She should focus on the problem in hand, which is making sure that Amy is okay, not get caught up in the spook. But I think that's kind of her trauma response, to be busy and be busy mentally and talk a lot to try to get over the fact that she's really quite worried about Amy and not sure what's wrong with her or how she's doing.
What's wrong?
It's Amy, she's hurt.
See, he's very efficient. He knows what he needs to do. He communicates it well. But again, he's also an adult and she's a child, which, it's asking a lot for the child to be responsible and mature in these kinds of situations. I'm not surprised she's a little panicky and just in over her head a little bit. Although, again, she's doing a good job. I'm not really faulting Mallory for what she's doing. You can just tell she's not cool, calm, and collected in the situation. Which, plenty of adults aren't either. Alright, it looks like
Ty is
back from his time at Briar Ridge. Oh, and so as he's coming back, he sees Red just standing in a field eating grass. So this is what I expected Red to be doing when they first lost him. I didn't expect him to be in the woods at all. I figured he'd find the nearest grass and just start eating, because that's what horses do, right? They find food and they eat it, especially in their own home environment where they're relaxed and comfortable. I don't know why Ben is being so stealthy about grabbing that lead rope. Red is not a spooky horse. He doesn't need to sneak up on him and try to grab him before Red runs away. Red's just kind of chilling, eating this grass, doesn't care at all about Ben. So he could have just walked up normally. And actually, I think kind of sneaking up on a horse so as not to spook them and cause them to run off is actually going to make them more likely to run off. So I don't think that was necessary, but Ty is not a super skilled horse person. He doesn't know horses really well, so I can see why that might be his thought process. He needs to catch a loose horse, let me be really quiet and calm about it, and kind of sneak up and grab him before he realizes. Sneaking up on a horse is near impossible, though. They notice everything, so that tactic just doesn't really work, and it makes them suspicious. They kind of think, well, why are you sneaking up on me? It must be to do something bad. Versus if you walk up normally and they're like, oh, okay, somebody's just coming up to me, that's fine. It's a good idea when you find loose horses, especially loose horses that are all tacked up like somebody was riding them, to look around like Ty was doing and just, see, is there anybody out there? Is there anyone around the horse? Because you don't know how far this horse ran, right? You don't know if somebody fell off right here and the horse stayed relatively near them, or if the person fell off, a mile ago and the horse has run off and is nowhere near that person. So always a good idea to kind of take a glance, look to see if you find anybody that's fallen off. And if you don't, obviously take care of the horse, alert whoever might need to be alerted so you can then find the person if you don't already know where they are once you get the horse back to the barn. So good for him to kind of check out, make sure that Ben's not nearby lying on the ground unconscious or something. All right, so Amy's dad is out in the woods and he sees Spartan. So he's a horse person again. I'm sure that as he's patrolling looking for cows, seeing Spartan, he's gonna immediately be like, who came off of that horse? He probably already knows this is Amy's horse because earlier in the episode he saw her riding this horse. But even if he didn't know this was Amy's horse, I think he'd probably respond the exact same way. There's a loose horse, let me look to see if anyone fell off and got hurt. And then exactly like Ty, if nobody is around, take the horse back to where it belongs. He knows this is one of Heartland's horses, so take it back there. Obviously, Amy is nearby, so he should probably find her while he's kind of looking around to see if anyone came off the horse. So in this situation, taking care of the loose horse isn't going to be the priority. It's going to be taking care of Amy because obviously she's lying on the ground, I believe, unconscious. So sure enough, he's coming closer to investigate, kind of trying to look around, where might Amy be? And he sees her laying on the ground unconscious. I'm sure this scares the crud out of him. It would scare me just seeing somebody laying on the ground unconscious while I'm out in the woods. I can't imagine how much worse it would be to see your daughter there. Like, she could be dead. You have no idea what you're walking up to. She could have fallen off, cracked her skull open, and died instantly. You just don't know what you're walking up to, and this is his daughter, somebody he cares a lot about, even though he's been estranged from her for a while. So he's got to be in like full panic mode. I'm sure he's gonna try to get there as quickly as possible. Yep, sure enough, he's gonna gallop over. He needs to get there immediately. Getting off the horse, probably a good idea because he kind of has to like go down some rocks and off a ledge. The horse is going to struggle a lot to do that. You'd have to go much slower than you can go on your own 2 feet. So I probably would have ditched the horse too. Oof. All right, the one thing about going to help somebody in a situation like this is you always take care of yourself first. Always, always, always. No matter what kind of grave situation the person you're going for is in, if you don't take care of yourself as a rescuer, you potentially put yourself in danger, and that doesn't help anyone. So if he gets hurt falling in this water right now, he's not going to be able to help Amy, and that could cost her life. I mean, you just don't know what's wrong with her and how quickly somebody else is going to get here. He has no idea other people even know she's fallen off. So it's really not a good situation. And then on top of that, if rescuers do show up, they're going to have to deal with him as well as Amy instead of just focusing on Amy. So he really hasn't helped anyone by putting himself in danger. I get that he was emotional because this is his daughter. I suspect had this not been his daughter, he might have been a little bit more calm and collected, thought through it a little bit more, and been a lot more careful crossing this water so he didn't fall in and again, potentially injure himself as well. Which would mean, depending on the injury, he might not be able to help Amy at all. Now he's being taken away by the stream, and there is a waterfall coming up. So super, super dangerous situation. Again, he really has not helped Amy despite his best efforts, because he's now stuck in the water, being pulled away. They're gonna have to rescue him before dealing with Amy at this rate because he's in imminent danger and she's been there for a while. So whatever's wrong with her, it's less time critical as him falling off a waterfall, which will be certain death. All right, luckily he seems to have saved himself by grabbing a tree that was in the water, so at least that's gonna buy him some time. But I think they're still gonna have to get him out of the water while also dealing with Amy, which is the priority and could have been easily prevented in the first place if he had just been a little bit more careful on his way getting to her. He could have done the initial check on her to kind of figure out what's wrong with her if he'd taken his time and been careful crossing that creek instead of making the grandfather and Lou take care of both of them and delaying help for Amy.
Amy! She's upstream!
I'm not surprised. As soon as he sees the grandfather and Lou, he tries to tell them where Amy is and make sure they attend Amy first. I don't know if you're a first responder, if that's the order you would actually want to do things, because to me, Tim is in more imminent danger than Amy. Amy's been there for a while. She's not going to drown. You know, she could even already be dead, versus Tim is at risk of going off a waterfall, which is certain death. So as a first responder, I think I would deal with Tim first. Obviously, there are two of them, so they could split up one on each. But I'm not surprised. This is his daughter. Tim is going to try to direct them to take care of Amy and let him fend for himself until they have taken care of Amy. That is how we work when we're emotional about things, right? Even if it's not super logical. Now, I suspect the grandfather and Lou would have done that anyway, because they know what's happening with Tim and they don't know what's happening with Amy. And generally, our first instinct is to evaluate what is going on with everyone and then provide aid as necessary. All right, the good news is she regained consciousness when they moved her, so she didn't actually die. That's great, and doesn't have such a serious head injury that she completely couldn't even be brought back to consciousness without kind of medical intervention. So that is good. This is a much better situation than it could have been. I don't think that I would want to go up and move somebody I found on the ground right away. I would want to be a little more tactful about it, because you don't know if she might have broken her neck or something else. Just kind of basic injury 101. You want to be really sure that you prevent creating any spine issues. You want to be really sure that you don't move their spine or their head or neck at all in case something is fractured or broken, because that could paralyze or kill somebody. You want to first make sure that everything is okay, then carefully help them move in a way that's not going to further injure them. Again, if you know their spine is fine, that's one thing. But in this situation, she's lying unconscious on the ground. You have no way of knowing if she broke her neck or not. She definitely hit her head pretty significantly, so I'm sure she does have, at minimum, a severe concussion and some internal bleeding in her brain. But, you know, this is probably your best case scenario for what happened to her. Luckily, Tim seems to have gotten his own way out of the water, because they have completely forgotten he was even there. They were so preoccupied with Amy. That surprises me. I would have thought they would at least worry about him as well as Amy. Maybe after the initial, oh, she's not dead, is Tim gonna be okay, and then go back to Amy. But I guess they were just so shocked about Amy, they forgot completely about Tim. I think he's really relieved that she's not dead and that, you know, she's conscious at least, and they're gonna be able to take her to the hospital and get her better. Lou, it looks like, did remember that Tim was there, so glanced back. The least they could do, honestly. Like, what if Tim had died trying to save Amy? They would have felt just absolutely terrible for that. I know Jack really hates him, but even Jack, I don't think would, like, let Tim die on purpose. Lou has a good relationship with him, so I would have thought she'd care a little bit more and be a little more proactive about that. But they saw he's fine, so priority is getting Amy to the hospital as quick as possible.
Hey, where's Red?
There's been an accident. Amy's hurt.
All right. So Ben has made it back. His first thing is, where's my horse? He obviously doesn't know that Amy came off, doesn't know anything that happened. Just last he heard, they had found Red and was bringing him back to the barn. So I'm sure he's like, I need to check on my horse, make sure my horse is fine. That would be your first thought at this point.
Did you hear what I just said? Amy's hurt. They're taking her to the hospital.
All right, so I can see why he is like in a panic already. He's not in a calm state of mind. So when she said there was an accident, Amy got hurt, that probably went right over his head, and he's just like, my horse, my horse, my horse, because that's what he was already worried about. You could think of this as like not caring about other people, but my guess is actually just his brain is so overwhelmed with worry about his horse that he like gapped and didn't even hear her when she said Amy had an accident, was going to the hospital.
Is she okay?
All right, so he just had it took him a minute to like process. Oh, Amy's hurt and my horse isn't even here. Not shocking. People have very different responses in stressful situations. Some are like really able to think through things and be really logical, but most people are not able to be logical. It's definitely a skill. It's a very useful skill, but one that most people do not have. All right, so Ty has decided to ride Red back. I would not be that brave. I know he knows Red, but somebody obviously came off Red and he's really not that experienced a rider. So I would not have gotten on him. I would have walked him back, but I'm sure Ty was like, you know what? It's a long way back. I don't want to have to walk all the way. So I'm sure it was out of laziness. At least he is wearing his motorcycle helmet. So he has some head protection in case something bad were to happen. But in this situation, you find a loose horse, you can assume the horse was all tacked up, that somebody came off the horse. I would not be getting back on until you know why somebody came off. And then also have the skill set to be able to ride the horse. Because, you know, just because Ty had a few riding lessons, riding like a pretty quiet, safe horse, doesn't mean he can ride Red. And I'm not saying Red is difficult, but Red is a show jumper, not a beginner's horse. So you just have no idea how Red is going to tolerate Ty's riding and whether that's going to be a safe situation or it's going to go south real fast.
What's wrong?
I think they're all probably not even able to process like, oh, Red's back, Red's okay, because they're both worried about Amy. And they haven't broken the news to Ty yet that Amy is hurt. He's obviously not even thinking about that. Ty's like, I found the horse. Oh, Ben's standing right there. He looks fine. So I'm sure to Ty, he doesn't understand what could possibly be going wrong and why everyone is just like not excited he has the horse back. Well, we just spent that entire segment trying to catch Red and bring him back, and lo and behold, it ended up being Ty, the one with the least horse experience, that was able to successfully bring Red back home. And honestly, of no fault of Red's at all, he was super easy. Amy just made stupid mistake and they had to go rescue her and then lost Red again. Yeah, a lot of time spent just not using proper precautions. So hopefully that's a lesson to all of you guys. Amy was truly lucky in this instance that, you know, she is alive. But use precautions, be safe, don't take unnecessary risks, it's not worth it. I hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you all tomorrow. Bye.